So, we are going to be having a discussion, and today's discussion is going to be on the Rescue Rangers movie. It is weird that this movie is so bad, but yet we have done 3 videos, and I thought the last video was going to be the last video, but no, I needed to talk about this one more time at least, because this next, like, one is, like, important to just how messed up this movie is. So, I was almost expecting for sure for Peter Pan to be a fake out villain. I thought it was messed up that they had Peter Pan be a villain to begin with, because this is a character that Walt popularized. He was part of the Untouchables at a time. The reason why the Peter Pan being the villain is so messed up is because he has a legacy behind him. Peter Pan was like one of the #1 early Disney films. Peter Pan is an all-time classic. I could have sworn that they were going to do a fake out where Peter Pan wasn't going to be the villain. I was wrong.
Yeah,
They did not do that fake out. Peter Pan was the villain. And
I think it would have been better if it was a fake out.
yeah, we actually did end up watching the movie. Watched it illegally. But we watched the
Don't
movie.
watch the movie. It's
The
garbage.
movie was bad, like I thought it was gonna be. Um,
Not even worth your time watching that. Just don't watch it.
but the thing that's really messed up is that Peter Pan was the villain, and that he was portrayed as a former child star that hit hard times and ended up becoming evil. Now his plot is
Mhm.
very like contradictory. There are some things with his plot that makes no sense. Like it just completely contradicts what they were setting up for the character. Like he's supposed to be making bootlegs by taking cartoon characters and forcibly changing them and making them work for him. But yet also he makes porta potties, and the porta potty thing is a one and done joke and is never mentioned again. So it's completely pointless. But I
Yeah.
guess that just had to be in there so they could have Shrek in the movie. But the main thing is that Peter Pan ends up talking about his childhood of being an actor, and he describes his childhood experience of being an actor as he worked at a young age. Peter Pan was his defining role, and then he ended up hitting puberty, and when he hit puberty, he ended up aging in an undesirable way, and he was let loose, and he ended up becoming a washed up childhood star. And what's really messed up about this is that the guy who played Peter Pan, the guy who Peter Pan is modeled after, he had a very similar story happen to him in real life, and Disney was the company that did it to him. And Peter Pan
Yeah.
is not only voiced by this guy, his name being Bobby Driscoll, but his face is also modeled off of him. So not only is it like his voice, it's also his appearance. So they basically made this Bobby guy the villain, and they take his story, his real story, and apply it to this fictional villain. And the thing that makes it tragic is that Bobby never got to bounce back. He never got a redemption. He ended up dying alone and sad and broke. And he was buried in a poor person grave where they can't identify who you are. So
No.
he died a tragic death. He was an alcoholic his whole life. He ended up being miserable throughout his whole life, and they use this to base a fictional character in a Disney movie. Ironically enough, even in death, Disney was still using this guy. So
Yeah.
not only is Peter Pan supposed to be one of the Untouchables, not only is he a touchstone of Disney animation, but his tragic backstory is being mocked by the company that did this to him. He was a childhood star from the age of 5. He was in so many early Disney movies, early Disney live action movies. He was in Song of the South. He was in so many different iconic Disney films. And then as soon as he hit puberty, they ditched him. And now they mock him decades after his death. This is his legacy. His legacy is being a joke in a movie. And the thing that's messed up is that the whole thing about him losing his job and becoming irrelevant was due to him aging. And then they throw in a joke in the movie where it's called The Boy Who Grew Up. And it was Peter Pan. It was like a documentary about his turn to villainy. I
Yeah,
I, I personally don't
just
think I personally don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a
no.
coincidence. I think they did it on purpose.
Yeah. It like someone there had to have fucking known, because that's just ridiculous that they would fucking do that. Like his exact story, basically,
It's way
except
too
for like,
close. It's way too close to be a coincidence. I get that the washed up childhood star is not a new thing, but they had to know about the guy who played Peter Pan. They had to know about
yeah,
Bobby. They had to know something. It's really, really too similar to say that it's just a coincidence.
honestly, like because uh Peter Pan in the movie like quit because of he got like too bad of acne to continue doing it, and that was the same reason why they let go of Bobby.
Yeah, because his face
Like,
couldn't keep the makeup on anymore.
no, yeah,
It's just really messed up. And for the people who want to give Disney, the corporation, the benefit of doubt, just know we watched the movie. It
mm-hmm,
is that cynical. The
it
movie
is.
is like that throughout. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
like the movie is very self-aware. It makes jokes like that constantly. So the idea that they would go for that type of blow is not shocking because they went for so many other blows against their own corporation, their own characters, and many other things. Like, so I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that they did that. It's in poor taste, and basically the whole movie's in poor taste. It acts
It's
like its
ridiculous.
self-awareness excuses its terribleness.
Yeah, it really did act like that, which is terrible because it was just they made so many things. They said so many things that was obviously them knowing and then continuing to do it even still.
Yeah,
Like that fixed the problem.
it, it's it's just really messed up, and like the sad thing is like if this was a good movie and then it had this, like it could be cancelable. But this is a bad movie that has this, so like
Yeah.
it's not even worth like bringing up. It's not even worth trying to do anything about because
No.
they're just gonna get away with it. That's just the fucking reality of it. And it's not even a good movie to begin with. I
No.
think the best parts of the Chip and Dale movie was when they just played up the idea of meme culture rather than trying to do something like this. Like the E.T. versus Batman thing was hilarious. More stuff
Yeah.
like that could have went a long way. But instead they decided to do this where they pull out one of the tragedies of Disney's history and like make it a pariah again.
Yeah. It's just the movie was terrible and the way they treated like everything in the movie was also terrible. 'Cause like they are just insulting someone who worked for Disney as a child at like he started at the age of 5
Yeah, and he
who
died
got
at
fucking
31.
fired. Yeah, he died homeless and alone
Yeah,
because he fucking was fired for his acne.
and then they fucking mock his legacy.
Yeah,
They make a
it's
joke that's a
really
complete
fucked.
parody of him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just messed up in every way imaginable. And normally I'm not the moral crusading type where it's like think of the children or think of Disney or something. But with this, it's like this guy had enough trouble. Like he had enough things go wrong in his life. He didn't need this on top of it.
No, be the fucking villain in a shitty fucking movie and have his life in his tragedy turned into fucking something to be mocked.
And I think the part that I agree with everyone else, and I usually don't agree with Twitter, but the thing that I agree with everyone with is like, that's his likeness. That's
Yeah,
basically him. Like,
It just straight up
they're
is.
basically making him be the villain of the movie. This poor
Yeah.
guy who had nothing to do with any of these people and literally did nothing wrong.
It's really fucking sad, like, unironically.
Yeah,
He did not deserve any of that, and they made him out to be a villain in the end. It wasn't even like he was a twist villain or not actually a fucking villain. Like, it was a fucking terrible movie, and
yeah.
they treated him terrible even in death.
His motivations made no sense either. Like, the
No.
motivations of the villain made no sense. They're completely contradictory the whole time. Like,
Hmm.
it's a mess of a movie, and people are laughing at it. People are like, this movie is great, and it's like, you only think it's good because you went in with zero expectations and was
I went
mildly
in with
surprised.
I went in with zero expectations, and it somehow let me down even then.
Yeah,
Like, it's so fucking boring. It's not even worth fucking watching to make fun of. Like, nothing happens. The world building doesn't make any sense. The fucking villain is terrible. There is no reason for his villainy.
honestly,
It's just
the
stupid.
movie is only good when it doesn't try to be a movie. When it just cracks jokes, like that's when it's somewhat good. Like when it has
Hmm.
like a little quip here and there, that's when it's good. But when it just follows the formula of these movies, it's really bad. Like really,
Yeah,
really bad. And it does nothing original with its plot, and then it makes fun of how unoriginal it is, acting like that's going to do anything to make the problem go away.
yeah. And it doesn't. It just makes it worse. It hurts the movie more.
Yeah. It's really sad that they had to make a joke like that. It's really sad that they went this low to get attention.
They just straight up villainized fucking Peter Pan and like what he went through as an actor, which again mirrors the real life guy. Why? Why would you do that?
This is yet again, like I was saying with our first video on this movie, is that it would be better if they had their own villains. If they had
Yeah,
their own
genuinely.
villains and their own story, then this situation could have been avoided. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no one cares.
Completely.
No one's offended by Roger Rabbit because Roger Rabbit had its own world, its own settings, its own characters. It wasn't really messing up anybody's creations. No one got offended by Wreck-It Ralph because Wreck-It
No.
Ralph had its own world and its own video game characters that they tell the story through. Like, Sugar Rush does not exist. Turbo does not exist. Ralph does not exist. They are not real video games in the real world.
Yeah.
But it would be like taking Turbo and then making him be like Sonic the Hedgehog. And he's mad because his fucking video game fandom is dead. Then it would be insulting.
Yeah. Incredibly. Like,
Except for Sonic
uh,
the Hedgehog still isn't a real person, unlike
yeah.
Bobby. Bobby was a real guy.
Bobby was the real guy that they used his fucking story to just have a villain that wasn't even a good villain. His motivation was stupid and pointless. They could have put literally anyone else in the role and it wouldn't change a goddamn thing.
I swear to God, this will be the last thing I say before we wrap it up, but it felt like a 30-minute movie. It didn't
Yeah,
feel like an hour, 30 minutes. It felt like 30 minutes. That's how quick the plot was. Like,
it did. And they didn't earn a goddamn thing the whole movie.
yeah, they wasted their opportunity to make this. They wasted everyone's time, and all they did was hurt people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all they did was hurt the animation community. And I think that was the main thing I've heard people gripe about, is that this movie is so mean to the animation industry. And it's an
Yeah.
animated movie, and it's mean, like viciously mean to the animation industry as a whole. Like its legacy, its current fucking reputation, like everything. And it wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to fucking poke fun at everything, but also try a sincere story. And it never earns any of those sincere moments. And it has far more gross, sickening moments like that with Peter Pan.
Yeah. There's just genuinely no reason to fucking watch the movie.
But I hope Seth Rogen enjoys that giant paycheck he got for being like 8 different
Oh,
characters.
absolutely. Yeah. It's fucking... He was so many of the characters.
Seth Rogen was like half of the movie.
Yeah. Yes. The world made no sense. It was incredibly insulting. The storyline wasn't good at all. It was fucking terrible. And that's all I have to say about that movie. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, same.